what you're doing and stop Spider-Man.
Miles, So in 2018, Sony Pictures did something unimaginable. Not only did they make a movie that rivals, if not honestly betters, the Raimi trilogy, but they made what is, in my opinion, to be the best superhero movie to date. And a more objectively, the best animated movie ever made in terms of animation design and just art style. And yeah, just like that, the multiverse became a very annoying trend that didn't seem to want to die. But it's dead now. Yo, we telling my guys, it's Big Riz, and Into the Spider-Verse, funnily enough, wasn't the first Spider-Verse project or thing to come out into the mainstream. It was the third. And today in this review/retrospective, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the first and I think only Spider-Verse video game out right now. And like I said in my previous video, Treyarch are completely done making these games. The development team for this game is a company called Beenox, which you may know as the guys who remastered the Modern Warfare 2 campaign back in like 2019, I think. They also now work on Warzone with Raven Software, but it's just another Activision IP that has gone from making any other game that isn't Call of Duty. And they decided this time to completely move away from the open world aspect and focus on a level by level linear design, which honestly I was all for it, because the thing that I didn't like about the previous 4 open world Spider-Man games was how they essentially added a bunch of busy work and fodder in order to make the traversal and open world seem necessary. So I was all for them taking out a lot of the quantity of content and really honing on like solid level design, like with the PS1 games. And quality, they delivered, because not only do you play as one Spider-Man, you play as 4, and they work essentially together in their own respective universes with their own separate like move sets and character designs and villains. And honestly, this is one I was really looking forward to playing as, because it's just one of the more unique ones out of the rest of them. The story takes place in the normal 616 universe, with Mysterio being the main antagonist. And right off the bat, it's obvious that this game was made for the fans, because the story is narrated by the late, great Stan Lee. For the first time since... it's probably better if I show you. We Are Here, he hasn't narrated since Here. That's 7 games ago. And honestly, it was such a nice thing to have, because he clearly put a lot of love and care into his character, and I honestly wouldn't choose anyone else to narrate his stories ever.
Hey there, true believers! Watch as once again frightening forces are at work in our world, ready to wreak havoc with our very existence. Who or what prowls the halls of Empire State University after dark? None other than the master of illusion himself, the menacing Mysterio!
The 616 Amazing Spider-Man is voiced by Neil Patrick Harris, who's most known for playing Barney in How I Met Your Mother, but is less known for voicing Spider-Man in an animated series in 2003. This was sort of like a continuation of the first Sam Raimi movie, but was written by the guy who wrote Ultimate Spider-Man, and was targeted to an older audience, because it includes subject matter such as parties and alcohol and death. But anyway, he ends up breaking this tablet which shatters between the dimensions. Okay. Which causes Madam Web, who has been given some really bad press recently, telling Spidey that the tablet is some important magical artifact that has been fragmented between 3 other dimensions. One in the past, one in an alternate present, and one in the distant future, and she needs the 4 of them to retrieve the fragments. It's from here you get a brief tutorial. The amazing section just teaches you the basics of moving, climbing up walls, and the Spider Sense vision, which, like in previous games, highlights important things to guide you through the levels. The next Spider-Man we're introduced to is Ultimate Spider-Man, who's given the symbiote suit, but Madam Web gives Peter full control over it so he doesn't go like evil. Ultimate Spider-Man is voiced by Josh Keaton, and if that name seems familiar to you, it's because I've mentioned him before. He's voiced Spider-Man in this game, he's voiced Spider-Man in the best cartoon ever made for the character. He plays that same variant of that character in Across the Spider-Verse. And he recently voiced Agent Spider in the Season 2 finale of Invincible. I'm pretty sure they wanted it to be Spider-Man, but I think Marvel or Sony or Disney said no. Typical. This tutorial teaches you about the traversal mechanics. It's pretty much just 3 things to learn. You can zip to perch points so long as you are close enough to them, and if you are too far away from a perch point, you can swing as expected to get there. It is still physics based, which is great, but as expected, the webs don't need anything to attach to. You also have the option to slingshot yourself straight up by holding the jump button. thank you for that. The third Spider-Man is one that has been given a lot of love recently from the Spider-Verse movies. It's Miguel O'Hara, set in 2099. He is voiced by Dan Gilvezan, who previously voiced Spider-Man in the cartoon from the 80s. This is the combat tutorial, and much like swinging, it's very basic. Square for light attack, triangle for heavy, and you can mix them up for combos. Holding triangle can launch an enemy into the air, which can be followed up with aerial combat. And finally, pressing circle will grab an enemy who can either be hit with another combo or thrown. But as Spider-Man doesn't kill, Madam Web puts them in a different dimension, I guess? Personally, I'd rather die. And the final Spider-Man is Noir. This is a version of Peter Parker set in the 1930s. He is voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who was mine, and if you grew up in the late 90s to early 2000s, your voice was Spider-Man, as he voiced the character in this cartoon. He is the least like the others, as for all of his missions you have to use stealth to take down your enemies. You do this by utilizing the perch points throughout the levels, as well as hiding in the shadows, which makes the environment switch to, as the name suggests, noir, letting you know that you are essentially invisible to the enemies. You can then perform stealth takedowns from either the same level as enemies or from above. I wonder where Arkham got that idea from. What's that? But along with stealth sequences, there are your regular combat encounters, which brings me to another thing that I really like about this game, which is every Spider-Man has their unique fighting style and animations. Amazing is web-based and can create weapons using his webs. Ultimate focuses heavily on the symbiote tendrils, which gives Spidey more range with his attacks, kind of similar to how Venom was in the Ultimate Spider-Man game. 2099 is more fast-paced close quarters, and Noir is a bruiser. There are 3 acts to this game, each having 1 per character, and each of the levels is centered around an iconic villain. The first is Kraven, who takes Spidey to a jungle. This is where we learn about the bonus stuff and collectibles in the game. The first are these Spidey tokens, which heal you slightly whilst giving you a currency called Spider Essence. Spider Essence is used to buy the various upgrades, combos, and alternate suits for each of the Spider peoples. Not all the upgrades are given to you off the rip, as you have to unlock the opportunity to buy them by completing the challenges of each level. These are shown up in the Web of Destiny, where you can track your upgrades. There are 15 per level, totaling to 180 challenges. By completing a set number of challenges will unlock more of the skill tree down the line. But continuing, you traverse through the jungle by swinging, perch zipping, and taking down the bad guys along the way. As more and more enemies come about, we learn about the combat stance, which can be used to passively dodge attacks and web strike, which makes an unwelcome return. I say that because not the same fluid web strike from Web of Shadows, but instead more of a way to just zip to an enemy to start off a combo. So everyone knows what first person is, it's the POV of the character you're controlling. This game actually loves to switch to first person a lot in the cutscenes, and you definitely know what third person is. It's the default, it's how most games are, with the camera behind the player looking forward. But do you know what second person is? Because this game has it. Whilst going through the jungle, you reach a section where Kraven is using a sniper to get Spider-Man. And for this section, you are looking through Kraven's POV whilst controlling Spider-Man. And I think this is the closest to a second person view we'll ever get, and that's pretty cool. I mean, was it as annoying and janky as you could expect it was? 100%. Definitely. But hey, this game has first, second, and third person, so you know, what other game has that? During the midway of each level, you have a boss battle with the normal version of the main villain, before they go away having you to complete more tasks, before they use the power of the tablet to get a boost. Kraven to me is one of the hardest bosses, and he was just the first one, but as far as levels go, it was unique and had a bunch of platforming, which was a great way to start off the game. Oh, and there is one more type of collectible in this game. There are a lot of these hidden golden spiders in the area. They give you a lot of essence, and collecting all of them is one of the 15 challenges in every level. Now, I've already said this, I'm not a big fan of like collectathons, especially when they're kind of pointless. But in this example, they actually reward you for collecting them, and you know, I feel like that's a better incentive than just trying to get a trophy or like just take off a checklist. The next mission is the Noir mission. This part of the fragment is being delivered to Norman Osborn by a Noir variant of Hammerhead, who was created for this game. You then have to chase Hammerhead through a train yard, hiding in the shadows as you pick off his henchmen. Then you save the train workers before you get to Hammerhead, where you hide in the shadows to pick him off. Oh, he then goes away, where you chase him through the same train yard, hiding in the shadows as you pick off his henchmen. But this time while saving civilians instead of, you know, train workers. Yeah, this is just 30 minutes of that. Oh, but there's a final boss battle with Hammerhead where you trick him into shooting these smoke machines, allowing you to hide in the smoke this time so you can pick him off. Oh, that's great. Honestly, considering how unique the way you tackle these levels are in the first place, I'll allow a bit of laziness. I mean, even games now are just a series of corridors leading to combat arenas, which opens up to corridors which lead to more battle arenas, so I'll forgive it. Plus, how many Spider-Man games even have dedicated stealth sequences that are like necessary and not just like an option? After defeating Hammerhead, we get our first level as Miguel, and much like the Noir mission, this mission's villain is an in-universe variant of the Hobgoblin. I guess the writers for this game understood that for the majority of people, including myself, we are being introduced to Noir and maybe 2099. And their rogue gallery is so different to the ones that we are accustomed to with the cartoons and the movies that I feel like they really wanted to have some familiarity with these different characters in their different universes. So I'm really okay with this. Plus, I really like the designs for them. Miguel's missions are much larger in scale. There's a lot more traversal involved, having you swing longer distances, and occasionally having these dive sequences which you either have to steer away from obstacles, or in the case of the midway boss battle, have you pull your enemy into these obstacles whilst falling. As a lot of these missions revolve around laboratories, you do get a more obvious example of having these long corridors which leads to battle arenas. However, again, I'm going to give it a pass as this is a quarter of the fairly unique levels in this entire game. Miguel has the unique ability to slow down time. It does exactly as it says in the tin. It does help against enemies with RPGs. And now for my personal favorite of the four. I love the Ultimate Spider-Man game. I think Josh Keaton is the best Spider-Man voice actor, and although it's been overdone, especially in the video game space, I love the symbiote suit and the stories that come for both it and Venom. The first villain for Ultimate Spider-Man is Electro, in a superior blue form that was never implemented poorly. Ever. I like Yellow Electro better anyway. These are pretty much like the Amazing fight scenes, just very much over the top. Use the extra range that the tendrils give you to take down these electrified enemies. Much like Miguel, this character also has a unique ability, which is the Symbiote Rage mode. This allows for stronger AoE attacks, and although I'm sure this isn't the first time a Rage mode has been used, I mean it was in Spider-Man 3, but this is a feature that I don't think makes a return in a Spider-Man game for a very long while. So after completing Act 1, you get the choice of which order you want to complete the levels in for each act now. It doesn't make that much of a difference as you have to complete the 4 levels with each Spider-Man anyway before moving on to Act 3, and I'm not going to go into much depth with each of these acts because it's kind of already said and done, but I am going to talk about some of the things that I liked about Act 2 and 3 that I actually really enjoyed. So Sandman is the villain of the Amazing Universe, which, like in previous and future boss battles surrounding him, you have to use water barrels to help combat his body structure. And a part that I really liked is how you use debris being pulled from the sand to get closer to him. A really cool Easter egg is one of the pieces of debris is Juggernaut's helmet. I don't know what the lore reason of why his helmet is here, especially considering he is the next villain for the Amazing Universe, but I find it to be pretty nice. Noir's second villain is Vulture, who in this universe was the one who killed and ate Uncle Ben, as per as per Green Goblin's orders. That's better. This time, instead of hiding in the shadows picking off enemies in a train yard, they decide to switch it up by having you hide in the shadows and picking off enemies in an alleyway and a rooftop. Okay, I'm gonna stop making that joke now. It wasn't even funny the first time. I don't even know why I even tried making these. The second ultimate mission is easily my favorite, as the villain for this is
the anti-hero for hire, the mask for your task, the guy who won't die, Deadpool!
Voiced by Nolan North. Yeah, the guy who voices and mocaps Nathan Drake and Desmond Miles is the guy that voices Deadpool in a whole bunch of video games. He voiced him in Marvel vs. Capcom, Lego Marvel Superheroes, this game, and even the Deadpool's PS4 game.
That's for all the clown folks. That's for never calling just to say hi. That's because I get aroused when I slap people. That's for all the furry midgets in the world.
And in this level, he brings Peter to an oil rig for his live reality TV show where
you're gonna have to tangle with my army. And by army, I mean production assistants. And by production assistants, I mean unpaid interns. And by unpaid interns, I mean fans. You're gonna have to tangle with my fans.
There's even this really funny part where he's about to give you like a mini boss battle, and just before the battle's about to like commence, he has to go to commercial break. And he essentially just sends the enemy away, gives you a bunch of regular enemies, and then sends the boss battle once the commercial break is over. It's really stupid, but it's really funny.
Spider-Man, you're the next contestant on The Priceless Fight! Come on down!
Let's see what you want. A redonkulously big enemy to fight!
A surprise?
Uh-oh. Looks like the spider's about to get squished. And we're out to commercial.
Yeah, but
Don't worry, we'll pick it up in the same spot when we come back. Guys, get down there and keep the talent limbered up in the meantime.
He then tricks Peter into telling him the purpose of the fragment by giving him a fake prop. In this final boss battle, he uses the fragment to create duplicates of himself, so he finally has someone to laugh at his jokes.
this? Finally, someone to laugh at my jokes! Hey, what's green and makes noise? What? The Incredible Honk! Kill him. Kill him.
This is by far the best and funniest mission in the entire game, and I'm glad we got to see the best voice actor for both Spider-Man and Deadpool in a game together. For the first, and I think the last time. I mean, other than Marvel vs. Capcom, but that's an arcade fighting game, so I don't really know if that counts. There's not much more I can speak about for the rest of the levels that I haven't already with the first 2 acts. However, the final Noir mission is quite unique, as you have to take down enemies in a carnival, and you have to work around the fireworks going off, which illuminate the entire area, which can expose you to any of the enemies looking in your general direction. And I really enjoy just working around just this small inconvenience that just helps you like think forward and think differently with how to take down these enemies. Once you've played the remaining missions, Mysterio is the final boss battle, obviously. In this mission you have a short segment using the best of all 4 of the Spider-Men, be it with Noir sneaking through shadows to avoid Mysterio's gaze, something that looks very similar to the Scarecrow missions in Arkham Asylum, but let's ignore that.
They're the same picture.
The powerful AoE attacks from Ultimate, the large scale dives from Miguel, and finally using the OG to finish off Mysterio. They then give their retrieve fragments to Madam Web and then bid each other farewell, and then Stan Lee sends us, the player, off as well with them. Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions was a game that I never owned. It's a game that I borrowed from a friend and then I didn't even get to the 3rd act before giving it back to him. So completing this game for this video was my first time completing it ever. And although it is admittedly repetitive, there are so many aspects of this game that I really loved, and it's so unique, and it was clearly made for people that really ride with this character. Things from the choice of characters, the choice of villains, the level design, the art design. I've always said that cell shading makes a game, or just any sort of like animation, seem more timeless. And probably my favorite thing of this entire game was having the 4 Spider-Men voiced by actors who have voiced him in the past, and also just having Nolan North play Deadpool again. Or I think this is the hold on, okay, so he has voiced Deadpool in a live to DVD animated movie, but this is his first time playing Deadpool in a video game.
See you later, older and less cool versions of me.
Old? Hey, I'm from the future. To me, all you guys are ancient history.
Good to know there is a future, and men like you to carry on the good fight.
Word. Bye, guys. Next time you should hang around longer. We could start a bridge club or something. Come on, Misty. Time to drop you off at Supervillain Daycare.
Thank you, Spider-Man. You should be proud to know your legacy is being upheld across time and space.
Yeah, those guys were all right, but you have to admit,
With 4 different Spider-Men?
the one thing I know for sure,
Out of all of them,
I'm the best!
And so ends one of the most titanic team-ups of all time. And what have we learned here today, Marvelites? That no matter what corner of the cosmos you may find yourself in, there'll always be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man to save the day. And to all of you web-spinning wonders, I proudly say, Excelsior!